Hello folks! Today, Poly Champions presents a Hoodrick Finals match from our Bullet Tournament. Chris, a 3-time Bullet Champion, will talk us through optimizing sawmill spots to get early giants, strategic uses of archer firing squads, timing explorers to get the lighthouses and Eye of God monument, and how to make effective use of units accomplishing 2 goals with 1 action. Okay, let's watch the replay. Hello, I'm eSpark. I'm leader of the Arctic Wolves and on the Huskies team. And with me today is Chris.
Hey everyone, I'm Chris. I'm a player for Krakens, and I've been on PolyChamps for about 3 years.
And what is this game today?
So we have a bullet game here. Pugs, who's the teal Hoodrick in the west, and Rats, who's the normal Hoodrick in the south. And this
Yeah,
is the bullet finals of the EST bracket.
yeah, and we should say that Rats is a very experienced player. He's won the Bullet Championship many times, and Pugs is an up-and-comer.
Yeah, Pugs has been much more active in the bullet scene lately. He is a commentator, and he's been playing in several bullet tournaments since he joined, so definitely coming at this with more recent experience, right? And looking at the map here a little bit, the village density is quite even
Wow.
between the
There's a lot of
players.
villages. There's a
Yeah,
lot of villages.
6 is... You can have as few as 2 on a tiny map. So
Yeah.
having 6 is pretty unusual. So getting on with the spawns here. Both players opting for this warrior opening here. And here we see it right away. Notice, Pugs has the option to move his archer either south or move it in this other direction. And he decides to move it in this other direction because he wants to move his warrior towards the center. He wants to keep his archer safe and have it support the warrior. Rats does something a little risky, though. He moves his archer all the way into the center, but we'll see
Ooh.
why he does this in a moment. It's really interesting opening. So we can see Pugs following
Oh,
through with this.
Rats did not step on the village. He moved it
Mhm.
off.
And I love this. So we can see Pugs following through with the typical my warrior
Mm-hmm.
supporting my archer, yada yada. Rats decides, hey, I'm not going to step on this village because my opponent might have spawned in the north
Right.
corner.
He
And
doesn't
if they
know.
did,
Mm-hmm.
they might be able to knock me off of this village.
Mm-hmm.
Even if Pugs had spawned in the west, which he did, this would also be possible if his archer was in range.
Yeah.
Watch. He steps on the village, Pugs moves his warrior onto the animal, boom. Immediately loses his archer
Can
in
you
the early
show
game.
Brown Rats's vision? Because
Absolutely.
Rats cannot see. He does not know where his opponent spawned. All he knows is there's this middle village. If he moves his archer there, there's a good chance there's a warrior and an archer in range to kill that archer, right?
Exactly. And
Mm.
that would put him in a terrible position. So he decides not to move on to the village, which I really, really like. And we're going to see how this pays off almost immediately. So he decides to get a workshop here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Makes
Very
sense.
typical. Pugs can calmly capture his second city. So now Pugs is a little bit ahead
Yeah.
on economy, right? Gets the second city. And his position feels super safe. You know, like he's got these 2 cities,
Mm-hmm.
his warrior's in the center, he sees this other village. He's probably like, why have I not met Rats yet? That's weird. So he
Yeah.
doesn't know that Rats is right on this village close to his capital. He
He
doesn't know
doesn't
that yet.
know. He doesn't know what quadrant his opponent is in. He's just like, I see a juicy village that no one has stepped on yet. Why?
Yeah. So we can see Pugs calmly ecoing up, getting
Yeah.
his first workshop of the
Mm-hmm.
game
Makes
and
sense.
capturing that second city.
Ah,
And
so
now,
Brown sends the warrior to that other, and the middle village is still unclaimed. Ooh.
Yeah. So Rats has a really interesting idea here where if Pugs moves his warrior onto the village,
The
Rats
archers
will
will
just be
kill
able
it.
to.
The archers will kill it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's really awesome about this idea, what I really like about it, is by moving his archer and just moving it towards the east side of the map, he's actually accomplishing two goals with one idea, right? He's going to knock Pugs off this city. And at the same time, his archer is moving over to,
To find
as
another
we
village.
saw,
Yeah, clear out the fog. Mm-hmm.
right? The villages that are also in
Yeah,
this east area. He's kind of accomplishing two things here.
yeah. Yep. Lovely.
And there's forestry for rats. He's going to be able to continue to grow his economy. And by only having one city, right, by turn 5, forestry costs 2 less stars, which means that rats can upgrade his second city on the same turn.
Oh, he chops.
Yep, decides to chop for another archer. It's important to recognize when you don't need certain forests.
Mm-hmm.
He already has a giant in his second city with the 4 forests, right? If he gets a sawmill between those and the 2 fruit, that's enough for the giant. So he says, I don't need some of these extra forests. I'm just going to use them to get myself another archer. Bugs continues to get a few more units here, starts to set up his attack on Rats' second city, and discovers the village in the north. So both players looking at 3 cities right now, but notice Rats has 3 cities that are just about as far apart from one another as is possible on a tiny map, whereas Pugs has this line of cities that are next to each
Mm.
other.
But that city in the east has a lot of resources. 3 animals, lots of forests, potential sawmill spot. Like, that's very juicy.
That's a great city to have. Discovers this ruin, and now Rats has a target, right? He wants to pick up this ruin as soon as possible because as we saw at the beginning,
Yeah, that ruin is within reach. The other ones are far away.
exactly. And you might be wondering, why did Rats move his archer back? And
Oh, he
that's
wants the
because he wants to
lighthouse.
get the
Yeah.
lighthouse. Exactly. So now Pugs can start to challenge control of the ruin. And Pugs gets an explorer.
You want some
Let's
lighthouses? Let's see if he's going to
see.
get them. Yes.
There's one.
Yes.
And
Is it going to make it? Is it going to make it?
it
Oh,
does. With the last
amazing.
move, it makes it to the second lighthouse.
Wow.
That's huge for Pugs. Makes a small error here. He could have chopped a second forest here and upgraded his capital and gotten
Oh.
5 stars back, and then trained a pair of units. But instead, he chops one and trains a warrior.
Because he had the animal.
Yeah, he could have upgraded with the animal
Yeah. Maybe
unit
he was
training.
waiting for the lighthouse? I don't know.
I don't know because it's hard for him to get the lighthouse in this position. Maybe one of his archers or his warrior can move back on the next turn,
Mm.
but Rats is going to kill his advanced warrior, so he's going to need to do something about that. Um, so I think maybe there's a room for some optimization there.
Yeah.
Rats is going to grow his economy. Decides not to get a technology
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense.
recapture. Yep.
It's
And
so,
then
yeah.
again, Rats chops another forest. And this is important, right? He's chopping unnecessary forests that he doesn't need, using that to get more units.
Go back.
He
Which?
chopped one forest
What? Let's see.
south of his second city.
He chops. There it is. Because he
Yep,
knows he doesn't need it to get the giant.
exactly.
Okay, got it.
He's looking for mathematics here.
Yeah.
That's, I think, his overarching plan. And he knows that, hey, I have enough population in that city without that forest to get a giant. picks up the lighthouse. Pugs does the same thing, so Pugs was planning on upgrading his city using the lighthouse, but it does cost him the units earlier on. Decides to get 2 more archers. So at this point, Pugs does not have any. He only has 1 warrior as a frontline unit and just a bunch of archers. Just decides to go for a workshop instead. So does not risk the explorer. Rats gets his second lighthouse, and that's perfect. Allows him to upgrade his capital. Now he's upgrading his second city, getting resources, getting his economy going. But Pugs has this onslaught of archers that can just pick away at Rat's warriors. And so he can really apply a lot of pressure. But notably, this is pressure to kill units, right? He's got, at this point, 6 archers in range, but he can't really siege, right? Archers are not a great unit for sieging cities. So the threat that he's presenting right now is just preventing rats from training units. It's not actually threatening to take Rat's city.
Let me just say, any unit that Brown trains in that city, it'll just die to the archers, right? We call that, I think we call that the firing squad.
Not exactly. Pugs has 5 archers at this point, and Rats has 1 4 HP warrior and 1 defense bonus 10 HP archer in range right now. That's 3 archer hits to kill. All to kill those 2 units. So if Rats trains a warrior in his second city, it won't die to the archers right away. And so Pugs will have to choose which unit he wants to kill.
In this case, Pugs doesn't have enough units to kill all 3, including the future warrior. But still, he has a lot of archers to pick off whatever he wants. Yeah, but he has to choose his target.
Now he just needs a couple warriors to threaten to siege. And as we can see, right, Rats trains that warrior. And then gets another archer over here.
Yeah, Brown's going to send his warrior to that open village with all those juicy animals.
You can see Pugs doing exactly what I said, keeping these archers in this firing squad, raining down arrows upon all these warriors.
And although that unit, the warrior, isn't dead, it only has 1 hit point, and that's pretty useless. So the firing squad did a good job.
Well, useless except that Pugs had 1 8 HP archer. And so 1 full HP archer and a 1 HP warrior kills the 8 HP archer.
Oh, wow. It was just enough.
Just enough. So Pugs gets his archer lost there, and Rats gets a little bit of value. And finally, Pugs can bring that warrior in. Nice play by Pugs here. Notice, this archer was at 2 out of 3 kills prior to killing a unit.
He's going to get a veteran. Nice.
So what he does is he marches the archer forward, right? He uses it to attack. Rat's unit retaliates, so now the archer's at 8 HP. And then he takes the veteran. He just knew that he would wait until the unit took damage before he wanted to promote it. So he allowed it to take some damage first. And then Pugs buys mathematics. As a general rule of thumb, it's important to buy the tech when you're going to use it. But in this case, as we can see, Pugs can't train that many more units this turn. So it's okay for him to buy mathematics, even though he doesn't do anything with it yet. Rat steps on that village in the northeast and is going to be able to pick off another one of Rat's archers.
These 1 hit point warriors seeing a lot of action.
And then Rats gets mathematics himself. And as we can see, is progressing towards that giant, gets the 2 fruit, and there's the first giant of the game.
Woo!
And he stepped on the ruin.
Now, you were talking about this before. The key is Brown planned the placement of that sawmill many, many, many turns before. He knew where to chop. He knew where he was going to place that sawmill. He had it all lined up.
Yep. And that's a great sawmill spot, right? 4 populations. Awesome.
Very nice.
And as we're gonna see, just a little bit more foreshadowing, that's gonna help him out later in the game too, having that level 4 sawmill right there. And at this point, right, Pugs immediately responds with a giant of his own.
He also places a sawmill and gets his giant. Look at that.
Yep. Pugs also plan the sawmill spot. It's not quite at its highest level yet.
Yeah.
But that can get all the way to level 4. So they both get these nice level 4 sawmill spots.
Can he get a second giant there with... He needs something else though. Ruin. He needs roads or...
So he actually has a monument.
Oh.
So Pugs can use his monument in combination with the animal and the forest and the sawmill to get the second giant in that city.
Yes.
Which is probably why he chose not to put the monument in his second city and get the stars back. And here we see Rats having already planned out the second giant, right? Yes. Sawmill plus forest plus monument. And there it is. And now he can kind of...
He didn't even need the fruit. He didn't even need the fruit. He just used the monument and the sawmill.
Exactly. And he decides to step back. And that's because, look at this firing squad. Yes. 6 archers. Hard to do a whole lot about that when you don't have a lot of support units of your own. But Rats does have a little bit of an economic advantage here. He's got 4 more stars per turn at this point than Pugs does. So how is Pugs going to respond? Well, first he's got to kick Rats off that ruin. Can't let him have that.
Nice. Yeah.
And then
so
he's
he kills the unit on the ruin, and then he sends some arrows into the giant, leaving the giant at 25. I mean, giants are slow, and yeah, that's another firing squad moment. Just take off the health of that giant before it gets to move.
Exactly. And notice that kill on the 1 HP warrior gave Pugs the killer monument. So he has 2 monuments to place.
Yes.
He's not only going to get a giant here, but he's likely also going to try to get a giant elsewhere as well.
And there's 2 unclaimed villages. Wow.
Yep. This is what we call the no man's land in these types of games, where your units are just staring at each other in a line, but no one really wants to advance because doing so would get all of your units killed. And here we see Rats gets another giant and then trains a unit in the city before getting the giant, so it gets nicely pushed out. He's got to deal with this incoming Pugs giant, full 40 HP.
And on a defense bonus, right? Moving that giant, keeping it on a forest tile, gives it the defense. Yeah.
But notice here, Pugs decides not to go for the city. And look at this foresight by Rats. By chopping that forest in front of the city, right? There's no place the giant can move where it has a defense bonus. So Pugs instead decides, I'm just going to push my giant forward towards this unclaimed village in the center.
We'll see how that plays out. See if he can get to it or if the archers are going to pick him off. We'll see. Yeah,
and trains the first catapult of the game.
Woo, catapult. Oh, 2. There's another one in the back.
Yep. So Rats realizes at this point, I can continue to advance and get a few kills. So he moves up his line of archers and gets some nice hits on the giant. And you're wondering, why put this archer in range of being killed by the giant? And the answer is, if he's going to shift his units over, right? Now he can protect the archers that he's left vulnerable with this giant right here. So Pug's giant is in a bit of a rough spot because it's surrounded by things it wants to kill, but it can't really kill them without taking a lot of damage in return. One of the defining theories of the game for rats, right? Is that once Pugs trains this catapult in the capital, Pugs can't train any more units in that city until he moves the catapult.
Yes, because a catapult cannot attack and move on the same turn.
Exactly. And if he continues to attack every turn, then he's not training units in that city. So now rats can comfortably try to advance, although Pugs is putting up a really nice defense here, decides to get even more catapults and advance his line of units. And notice, right, he moved his catapult in the north so he can train another one. Whereas in his capital, he had to keep the catapult there to get rid of the giant. And there it is. Rats gets this veteran and uses the same tactic that Pugs used against him earlier, where he takes retaliation damage
and then
from the warrior
after the
heals.
hit point went down. Then he chose to promote so he could heal. Yeah, I love that.
A catapult cannot kill a veteran archer. It actually puts it to 1 HP. So Pugs can't use just his catapult to kill this archer. If he wanted to kick rats off the ruin, he would have to use both the catapult and the archer, which means that his catapult would be vulnerable to getting hit on the next turn, no matter what he does. And you may be wondering, why isn't Rats moving this 8 HP archer up to hit some of those catapults?
Yeah, he could soften up one of the catapults, right? Can he not see? Oh, he can't see it! He doesn't have the vision!
He can't see the catapult up here.
Oh. That he uses it to attack the archer. Oh. But not the catapult?
I think this might have been a misclick.
I would have attacked the catapult.
But he probably just misclicked that archer. And that's going to mean that he doesn't get a hit on the catapult.
Yeah.
And there we go. Rats trains his first catapult. He's eyeing the city right here and makes, and I'm going to go back a little bit, makes a bit of a crucial error. Notice here that this giant, this Pug's giant, is 1 tile away from moving onto the village.
Yeah.
So next turn it's going to move onto the village.
Yeah.
And the best way for Rats to stop that from happening in the village
is to move his giant up.
But he makes this error
because
where he shifts his archer over. He actually would have been able to kill the giant if he had moved his giant forward.
But he put the archer on that spot instead.
He blocks his own movement. And so now he has to move his giant west instead.
Oh, no.
Which we'll see in just a second here.
Oh, yeah. And it won't be adjacent. It's not adjacent to the village anymore. Oh.
Yeah, so now Pugs can just step on it. And that's going to give him a crucial city, right? Like, this is now a 4v3 in a moment here.
Yeah.
And notice also that he still doesn't have vision on this. Now, this is a catapult range, as we'll call it, right? He still doesn't have vision on what is now 3 catapults that are going to advance.
Catapult range, that's what it is.
Yep. and Pugs is getting some sea levels and then another giant. Notice, though, look how many stars Rats is starting his turn with. With 51 stars.
Dang. Time for some tech.
Yeah, he got a star ruin and is going to take full advantage of that.
He could get knights. He could get, he went markets. Woo.
He's going markets. And so he's got 2 sawmills right here.
Look at those are 2 beautiful market spots with adjacent sawmills. That's great.
Exactly. So now he can put down 2 immediate level 6 markets and get 12 more stars per turn. Now he can convert those 51 stars he started the turn with into even more stars per turn that will kind of make itself back really quickly. Gets an explorer here. He wants to see all of what Pugs has going on. Collects. Oh, he was super close to getting Eye of God. One move away, but does collect the third lighthouse of the game.
Third. So close.
So close, but most importantly, look at all of those catapults. He finally has vision of all the
He
catapults.
can see the firing range.
And here we go. So this is going to be leveling up and gets his first market. That is a level 8 market right there.
Wow.
And if you're wondering what the difference is between the players at this point in terms of stars per turn,
Yeah, let's look at their income.
Pugs is making 17 stars per turn. Rats is making 30.
And he hasn't even put the second market down. He could put another market and get even to 8 more next time. Dang.
Exactly. And I don't know about you, but 5 stars for 8 stars per turn seems like a pretty good deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was able to upgrade the middle city and get 5 stars back with that sawmill. So all of it makes sense.
Exactly. So some great economic late game choices coming out from Rats. But look at that. Look at that damage. That giant just gets obliterated. It's down to 3 HP. Pugs has another 40 HP giant marching into Rats' area towards his second city and claims the 4th city here.
Yeah.
And as we can see, Pugs is going to get an Explorer. And this is what Pug's vision looks like, right? He wants that Eye of God. And let's see if he gets it. And there it is. That's the Eye of God.
Not only does he get the population, he gets the monument.
He does. And so he uses the Eye of God immediately in combination with the sawmill to pump out another giant.
I love that. I love that with lighthouses and a double giant.
Yep.
But will it be enough?
We shall see soon enough, because Rats is about to have a big turn. Kills that giant. Hits Pug's giant in the city. And this is where things start to spiral out of control. So Pugs knows that Rats has roads at this point. But notice he left all of his catapults in the same spot. And so watch as Rats just picks off these catapults. He's going to connect together his cities. And just look at this destruction.
He uses the archers on the roads to reach that catapult range.
Exactly. And then pumps out another giant.
And he's got those 2 level 8 markets. Those are bringing in so many stars.
And Pugs looks at this position.
Yeah, he gives up.
And says, well, I think you got me.
You got to. This is great. Wow, what an interesting game. I love seeing the planning with the sawmills, deciding how to get your giants. Excellent game and a good showcase of Hoodrick.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you so much, Chris, for talking me through the replay. This was great.
Absolutely, and thank you.
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. It helps us a lot. Want to learn how to play Hoodrick better? Watch our Hoodrick strategy guide. Join our league. Come play Polytopia with us. A link to the Discord server is in the description. Take care. See you on the next one.